Charlie Lindgren isn't even the guy this year. Charlie Lindgren is a sub 900 save percentage, and Logan Thompson is the biggest difference maker for this team. He's been unbelievable. He's a potential Vezina guy this year.
The Washington Capitals, man, oh man, what a ride it's been. The game last night, they go to overtime against the Canucks, and who pots the game winner but Pierre-Luc Dubois? We have been on this thing since Jump Street, folks, and we've been on it really with a heavy dose of confusion, where last year the Washington Capitals were a playoff team, but they were a terrible playoff team. The term food was thrown around a lot leading up to the postseason. We liked the little run they made under Spencer Carberry. There was a lot of fun about the second half Capitals last year, but gross for that team to have made the playoffs, gross to have had to watch a team enter the playoffs knowing that they would be just absolutely crushed, which is what they were. But since then, they've done so much maneuvering. And I was listening to Felger and Maserati yesterday in the aftermath of the Bruins' 5th straight loss. And where does the team go from here? It's so tough in the NHL, where if you feel like you have to rebuild, you could be there a while. They threw around names like the Detroit Red Wings and certainly the Buffalo Sabres, where if you go to the bottom, you could stay there or you could stay in what our friend Jeff Merrick calls the mushy middle for a very, very long time. And then there is the Washington Capitals, which should be every team's inspiration. If they are confused as to what they should do, maybe you've got an aging star such as an Alexander Ovechkin, and I think that for a lot of middling teams right now, they don't have quite an Alexander Ovechkin, but to stick with the Bruins analogy, Brad Marchand, whatever, what do you do? What the Washington Capitals have done over the last calendar year should have its own museum. And we will get into it beat by beat, but what an absolutely lovable team your first place in the Eastern Conference Washington Capitals are.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention the fact that the series that they played last year in which they were considered food was up against the New York Rangers, who are now a fucking disaster. So it's been a complete flip of those two teams. And I don't know if you can say that like anybody should be following the Washington Capitals mode, because I feel like they just caught such lightning in a bottle. Like if you try to follow that formula, most teams are going to end up misidentifying or finding the wrong guys that other teams are trying to give away. Like it just so happened that the Capitals managed to get a bunch of players that a bunch of teams were willing to give away, and they just like hit on all of them. And I think a lot of it is coaching with Spencer Carberry, but like that's not a model or blueprint that a lot of teams can follow, I don't think.
So we talked about this before the show. This is what everybody should hope they're able to do, because the Capitals, in short, have done this by drafting well and by taking some risks, identifying guys whose stocks were low, and taking on, obviously, the kind of face of this retool has been Pierre-Luc Dubois, but saying, okay, we'll take it. And we'll play a little clip of our season preview in a second. But we talked about this team so much in the offseason, and so much of what the Capitals did was getting all of the guys for whom we asked, where's that guy going to go? Yeah. Where's Logan Thompson going to go? Where's Andrew Mangiapane going to go? Where's Jakob Chychrun going to go? They just took all of those guys. And you are right in that for every Washington that does this, you've probably got more Pittsburghs that do it, where they're like, you know what? We've got aging stars. Erik Karlsson. We'll take Erik Karlsson. Yeah. And it doesn't work out. So, and a lot of teams have tried to do this before. I mean, even you want to go back to the Blackhawks before they hit rock bottom, where they had aging guys. They want to make one last run, and they were like, okay, cool. Let's trade for guys. Let's get Seth Jones. And it doesn't work out. So you are right that it's a very, very fine tightrope, and that the Capitals have walked it in a way that I can't remember another team doing.
And you also do have to mention that, like, they have young guys who have come up and have
That's what
thrived
I said,
under
drafting.
Yeah, like Alexi Protas, Connor McMichael, like those kind of guys who are also filling spots that teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Boston Bruins, they don't have a lot of those guys who are coming up and also filling out the roster.
Here is a bit of our preview of this team, and we've been excited about this team, but I think that we can't take as much credit as we want, but here it is. This is one of two teams, the other being the Flyers, that I could believe finishing in any spot in the Metro, including 1st and 8th.
I don't think that they're going to finish first in the Metro.
I don't think they are going to finish first in the Metro either. But if you were to tell me, hey, what's the craziest thing that happened in the NHL this season? Oh, the Capitals, that wild card team from last season, ended up making the jump to first in the Metro. So this is the craziest thing in the NHL that's happened this season, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That the Capitals, that wild card team from last season, ended up making the jump.
Well, I guess you can't say that because like the biggest disaster in the NHL this season has been the reigning President's Trophy winner.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, do you like the car crash or do you like the beautiful piece of art constructed?
I mean, I guess you can just say that the craziest thing that has happened in the NHL this season is just that one playoff series from last year where like they space jammed them. They fucking took all of their abilities and then left the Rangers for dead, zombified, just dust.
So last season, the Capitals made the playoffs with a minus 37 goal differential, which is the worst by a playoff team since 1991. Thank you, Pete, for crunching that number before the show. I want to look at where this team was a calendar year ago, which would be through the January 8th games, and where they are right now. Because last season, through January 8th, they were 14th in the NHL with the .579 winning percentage. So that shows you that they were just kind of middle of the package. But a minus 23 goal differential. Goals for per game, they were 30th. Goals against per game, they were 11th. Power play, 27th. PK, 21st. Look at the jump they have made in literally all of those areas where they go, obviously points percentage, they go to second in the league. Their differential goes from minus 23 at this time last year to plus 41, which is second best in the NHL. They are scoring over a goal more per game. They've gone from 2.39 per game, which is 30th in the NHL, to 3.66 per game, which is second in the NHL. Their goals against jumps from 11th to 5th. Their power play jumps from 27th to 11th, and their penalty kill jumps from 21st to 5th. Spencer Carberry, your coach of the year? Your Jack Adams?
Yeah.
I don't think bullet?
I don't think there's anybody else in the conversation right now. I'd give Spencer Carberry Jack Adams just for making Pierre-Luc Dubois learn how to play defense alone. That alone. Like the Caps could miss the playoffs, and if PLD is playing the way that he's playing right now and has been over like the last couple months, I'd give him Jack Adams just for that alone.
Okay, let's look at the moves that Washington has made. These are just the trades. The players that have been traded and brought in since this time last year. Out Anthony Mantha, Joel Edmondson, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Darcy Kemper, Beck Malenstein, Nick Jensen. In Pierre-Luc Dubois, which remember, they make that deal and they bring him in on entering the second year of an 8 times 8.5 that nobody wanted. Looked like a disaster in LA. Andrew Mangiapane comes in. Logan Thompson comes in for, I think, a 3rd-round pick. Jakob Chychrun comes in. And Lars Eller, which Lars Eller might be the ultimate who he play for guy because I never know if he's on the Capitals or the Penguins.
But that's the thing. Like, you can't do. He's not the ultimate who he play for guy because like he's on one of 2 teams.
Yeah, he's on the Capitals or the Penguins.
Yeah, you're 50. You got a 50% chance of getting it right.
Okay, all right. But look at all that. That is high activity.
Yeah.
That is high event roster construction. And man, if they just didn't nail it, another part of that preview was like, I don't know about trading Nick Jensen. I don't love that.
Yeah, look at the loss list and like what we talked about. Which one of those guys do they miss?
Yeah, I mean,
if they miss anybody, it's like maybe a little bit.
Like you'd still want Anthony Mantha.
Well, Anthony Mantha is out for the rest of the season.
Well, you'd want him, but that's a butterfly effect thing.
Yeah, I guess.
He's not hurt if he's on the
Beck Malenstein has 8 points on the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Logan Thompson is sneakily the biggest one there because when you look at the last year's comparison to this year, one of the things that wasn't really highlighted was goaltending and the fact that Charlie Lindgren was like the biggest reason why they got into the postseason last year when nobody else wanted that second wild card spot. Charlie Lindgren isn't even the guy this year. Charlie Lindgren is a sub 900 save percentage, and Logan Thompson is the biggest difference maker for this team. He's been unbelievable. He's a potential Vezina guy this year. Do we want to highlight his numbers? Sean, go ahead and throw up the Logan Thompson numbers because just absurd. 17-2-2, which is 36 of 42 possible points in his starts, 919 save percentage, a 2.32 goals against average, and 11 goals saved above average. Like that, those numbers are outrageous for a guy that you picked up as just like a little cast off from Vegas for a 3rd-round pick. Unbelievable work by Washington and Logan Thompson, who, by the way, in the final year of his deal. So that man about to get paid, and he's basically on like a minimum deal, making like $760,000.
Yeah, and I'll correct that, Trey. It was 2 3rd-round picks. They traded last year's 3rd-round pick and this coming year's 3rd-round pick. But think of all the trades that all the picks that they ended up getting from all those guys that they sent out at the trade deadline. So they are sitting pretty. And on the Logan Thompson thing, even the most optimistic of Washington Capitals and the most excited of Washington Capitals champions this offseason couldn't see how they, like, I was like, I could see them maybe somehow being in first place. And I was saying, like, if everything goes right, and when I was listing the things, I didn't say Logan Thompson's name.
No.
I was like, Lindgren's going to be a Vezina guy or something if that happens. So the way that they're doing it, really nobody could have predicted.
Ovechkin broke his leg. Was missed. Like, if you were to say everything goes right for the Washington Capitals and they're first in the Metropolitan Division, you would assume that Ovechkin absolutely goes off and has a crazy season, which, like, he's having a great season, but he also missed over a month.
And on the Beck-Malenstein trade, speaking of picks, they traded him for a pick to the Sabres. It was a 2nd-round pick with which they drafted Cole Hudson. So, Buffalo Sabres. But
yeah, but as you mentioned prior to the show, like, Sabres don't need a Cole.
You don't want, honestly,
I mean, like,
you don't want another young
take
defenseman
him,
that's going to be
and
awesome.
also, based on their draft history, no reason to believe that they would have made that pick had they had it.
Well, they take good offensively minded defensemen.
Yeah, when they have the 1st overall pick.
Yeah, fair. It's fair.
Right now, the Capitals have their 1st-round pick for the next 3 years. They have 2 2nd-round picks this year. They have a 3rd, 4th, 5th. They just don't have 6 and 7. They don't have 3rds in 2025 2026 and 2027, but they've got 2 4ths in 2026. Their cupboard is pretty well stocked. We have not said Ryan Leonard's name yet. We just barely have said Cole Hudson's name. They've got reserves coming. They're going to be awesome this year. We're very excited about that. But
I don't think Cole Hudson's coming.
I know, no, I'm saying like down the road.
Yeah.
Like, they are going to be awesome this year, and in the coming years should be able to replace these guys as they age out. They have gone from just a where is this franchise going to a very well positioned, not like the ultimate who do you want to be in the NHL team, but pretty high up there.
I don't know though, because this could be, not saying it is, could be like a flash in the pan
Definitely.
1 year thing. I think that you've got a lot of reasons to be positive about where this is headed. Number one being you have, I think, one of the best coaches in the entire NHL in Spencer Carberry. Like, he has proven since he's come on board that he can make basically whatever you give him work. And last year, they changed what they gave him, like midway through the year. He adapted on the fly and helped them get into the playoffs. I think he's one of the better coaches in the league. And, you know, that is probably the most important thing that they have going for them right now.
We all silly like the mayor.